Look who's here, former CKE restaurant CEO Andy Puzder. Okay, Andy, we've got the preview. Blue-collar boom, domestic policies to help working families, healthcare, illegal immigration, national security. Your take.
I mean, it's all very positive. There's a lot of fodder for this president. He gives a great State of the Union. I think this will be, again, a marvelous State of the Union, looking at what's been done to help the American people. And it's going to leave the Democrats in a position where they're going to ask the blue-collar Americans, who are you going to believe, us or your wallets? And I think the American people are going to believe their wallets.
Okay, here's the Democrat rebuttal. Okay, so again, the president's message, put America to work again. The Democrats' message appears to be U.S. farm bankruptcies hit an 8-year high. American consumers, not China, are paying for the Trump tariffs. They're going on about drug pricing, economic gains not as strong as the White House is reporting. Your take on that?
Well, number one, I think Trump has an 83% approval rating with farmers. Farmers understood what President Trump was doing. The Phase 1 China deal will be hugely beneficial to them. That's going to fall on deaf ears.
You know, yeah, go ahead, finish.
Go ahead. No, what was your second point? First it was farmers, then it was...
It was American consumers, not China, are paying for the Trump tariffs and drug pricing.
Look at the inflation rate. Inflation's incredibly low. If American consumers are the ones paying for these tariffs, where's the price increases? I mean, they're just not showing up in the data. So I think, again, the Democrats are in the very difficult position of going to people who have more money in their pockets because of tax cuts, more of whom are working, their wages are up so they're making more money, going to those people and telling them, look, things aren't really as good as you think they are. Yeah. Well, people aren't going to believe that.
The president is speaking to the aspirations of voters. That's what his team is saying. In other words, the people who do it for themselves, they don't run to the government for a handout. We understand the government is there to help people in need to get back up on their feet. Polls indicate suburban Republican voters are leery of the president's personal attacks. His tweets are thought to be holding down his approval ratings. That was the argument. Look at this. Gallup says it's now 49%. That's the president's approval rating, his highest yet. The president's themes recall what Ronald Reagan said in the 1980 Republican convention. Watch this.
For those without job opportunities, we'll stimulate new opportunities, particularly in the inner cities where they live. For those who've abandoned hope, we'll restore hope and we'll welcome them into a great national crusade to make America great again.
Tonight you're going to have Democrats protesting. You're going to have potential boycotts. Your reaction on Nancy Pelosi and the president seeing each other for the first time since October when he said she was a third-grade politician?
Well, look, President Trump is a president who will defend himself. He's been attacked and attacked and attacked, and he's withstood those attacks by doing the things that people criticize him for doing. I think if he laid back and taken the attacks, he'd be doing much worse. As you said, Gallup's got him at 49, Rasmussen has him at 48, Wall Street Journal, NBC have him at 46%. These are very good approval numbers for a president going into an election, and he will juxtapose his very positive message to the very negative message coming out of the Democratic Party, attacking our institutions, attacking our heritage, attacking our president through a really faux or made-up impeachment process. He's in a very good position tonight, I think, to talk to people and say, look, I've done my job for you. When you get to vote, you get to the voting booth, please remember that.
And Andy, maybe the president could go one further. We watched Bill Clinton's impeachment address. Excuse me, not impeachment address, forgive me, let me restate. Right. His State of the Union address in the middle of his impeachment trial in 1999. Clinton zoomed in hard, focused entirely on policy. The president is expected to do that tonight. 1999, Clinton had a U.S. budget surplus. He said, don't spend any of that until we truly fix Social Security. That knocked the wind out of the Republican sails there. Maybe the president tonight could say, not just a blue-collar boom, I'm going to do the next big picture thing. My next accomplishment, a new contract with America's middle class. Those voters helped the Democrats flip the House in 2018. What do you think?
I think it'd be great. I don't know. I was in a meeting yesterday with the president. He told us some of what was going to be in the address. He didn't tell us any of the new things that were going to come out. So it would be very exciting if he came out with a new policy initiative. But I think really just continuing on with what we've got. This has been so great for the American people that went through 8 years of stagnation under President Obama. We've recovered, and we need to keep going in that direction.
You met with the president yesterday. What was his mood?
he was upbeat. I mean, he was on his game. I think this is going to be a very, very good speech tonight.
Andy Puzder, thank you for your insights. Come back, my friend.
Thank you, Liz.